Hi, my name's Jamie. I'm a short film writer and director, and I'm here today to give you a brief introduction on how to write a short film. Perhaps you're feeling lost on where to begin, or you're halfway through and have realized you haven't got enough juice to finish. Maybe you finished writing your short and you don't know what to do next. Whether it's your first short film or your 10th, in this video, we're gonna cover the research stage, idea generation, the actual writing, and of course, rewrites. Hopefully by the end of this video, you would have found some purpose in your short. This is such a huge topic, so I'll be going over as much as I can, but like I said, this is just a brief introduction. If you'd like to know more, then please let me know in the comments below. So, you want to write a short film. Why? It's good to figure out the why now, because this is what's going to keep you motivated throughout the entire writing process. If you're writing to win an award, then I promise you, you will not win that award. Authenticity. This is what we need when we write, and if you're writing to win something, then that's not authentic. You should be writing because you have an idea, you've got a story which can only be told by you. This story needs to showcase your voice, and your voice is something that is distinct to you. We don't need another Tarantino-inspired film about a Royale cheese or a Wes Anderson wannabe with lots of dialogue which overanalyzes everything. What we need is your voice and your story. So if you don't know what your voice is, unfortunately, the only way you can figure that out is to just keep writing. And you have to write a lot, and some of it's gonna be bad, but you've just gotta keep writing, and then one day you'll just figure it out and it will just be natural. One of the most important things I think when it comes to writing is not actually writing, it's living. And there's a million quotes online from some important people who agree with this. I'm a true believer that life is the true source of inspiration and development. So you need to get out and live. Do what you have to do. I mean, I had to move halfway across the world from the UK to Asia in order to kind of develop myself. In this time, I've written a feature film, 4 shorts, I'm working on 2 TV series, 2 more shorts, and another film. So that is more writing in these 6 months than I have done in my entire 10 years of being a writer. You might not be able to do this, and that's okay, but you need to find your source of life. Go to the gym class that you really wanted to go to. Go to that strange hobby that you thought no one would like. Do whatever you need to do, you know. I saw a video the other day of Werner Herzog, and he says, you won't write a script working a 9-to-5 job. Go be a bouncer in a strip club. Go be a warden in a jail. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what I'm trying to say. Another very, very important tip before you start writing is that you should be reading and watching short films. If you have never watched a short, then you will probably make a really bad one. And that is something I did at university when I had to write and make my first short. I just thought a short film is a story. Yes, that is true, but there should be some sort of structure. And the ones that do well at these festivals, there is a clear beginning, middle, and end. That could just be one scene in one location, or it could be told over a whole year. There's no right or wrong way for making a short film, which is a very annoying thing. The more you watch short films, the more themes you will see in them. If you watch enough, by the time it comes to write your short film, it should feel natural to write. Also, you should be reading. Reading is so damn important. It doesn't matter what you read as long as you're reading. You know, you can read a book, you can read screenplays, you can read short screenplays. So it builds vocabulary, it builds sentence structure, it just builds your general knowledge. It's just so important. For so long, I put off reading screenplays, probably just due to arrogance. But as soon as I started reading them, I saw how a script should flow naturally. And yeah, my writing just improved so much since then. So let's talk about short films. Like I said earlier, there is no right or wrong way to write a short film. Short films can be 1 minute long, they can be 25-minute long, they can go up to 45 minutes. They can be in one location, they can be in multiple locations, perhaps it's just one scene, you can do a whole world building to it, or it can just be something happens, you know. There's no right or wrong way, but there are some things that you shouldn't do, which is what I'm gonna focus on. A short film needs to be a story in itself. And probably the biggest bit of advice I can give you right now is, if your idea is too big for a short film and is more suited to maybe a TV show or a film, then that's not gonna work. There are ways around this. Perhaps you can film just a scene from this idea, or perhaps you can look at a different kind of story in this world. But speaking from experience, when I've had a big idea and I tried to condense it, it just doesn't work. If you look at Whiplash short film, this is just an example that, yes, you can take a scene from your film and have that as a short. If we break that down even more, there is a clear beginning, middle, and end. You know, he joins a class and then he performs, and then at the end, you know, he gets shouted at. And that's the story. It's a brilliant short, brilliant film, and yeah, so that's what we're striving for, really, brilliance. Although I said don't worry about awards right now, something you should consider is finding a home for your short after it's been filmed. Some people will say this is terrible advice, and I have to agree, but something I've learned is if you're writing a film which just cannot be marketed, maybe it's multi-genre bending, and some of my favorite films are, then it's hard for these shorts to be shown at festivals. So something I do now is just I go onto Film Freeway, I just look at some of the top short film festivals where this idea could belong in the end. Because if you're writing something which just can't be marketed, then you might be writing something which might not be made and it might not be shown to anybody. And if you spent a long time writing an idea, then you know, you want it to be made. It's important. This is an important story, which is why you've chosen to write it. So let's say you've read loads, you've watched loads of shorts, you've lived loads, and now you feel like you're ready to start writing your short. So when it comes to generating ideas, what I should have said earlier is you should be, whilst you're living, you should be writing down your experiences. It could be in a journal. I journal every day. And I've also got what I call an ideas Bible. So if I see something or experience something which could be a film, then I write it down on a list. If I meet someone who's really interesting, they've lived a really interesting life and they've got a lot of stories within them, and I like their character, I also have a character Bible. Once you have these two things, you can start mixing and matching these things. Okay, so the other day, for example, I saw an argument in the street and then matched that with someone I met at a bar who had PTSD from a war. Okay, argument in the street, boom, two people, that's a new story. Yeah, that's pretty much how I generate ideas. It's quite simple, really. Some of them work, some of them don't, but it's just a fun little exercise to do. So I was listening to a podcast the other day with Mustafa Suleyman, and he was talking about AI and the film industry, essentially gave away the formula for creativity, which was one experience plus another experience creates a new experience. And that's all we have to do as humans to create stories. You know, we need to look at art and we need to look at stories, and then we need to bring that into our own experience. And then that is how we can successfully tell a story. I studied art, and I remember my art teacher trying to explain that to me, but I just never clicked with me. So what I used to do is just I'd copy artists who I'd like. And now that I'm older, I realize that I have to mix my experience in with this in order to give a new bit of art. Let's say you've got your idea and now it's time to get planning. I actually have quite a regimented planning process. So I always start with a log line. And what I'll do, I'll write a bunch of different log lines for this idea. Whatever one resonates with me the most, that's the one that I'm going to stick with for as long as possible. And then further down the line, you can change the log line, it's no problem. And then I write the synopsis, and I just go crazy with the synopsis. Everything that I think that happens in the script, I just write it, just jot it all down. And then we have to talk about the characters. And to be honest, characters are the most important thing, as well as story. So you need to define your characters, and it's a short film. So you might not get a full character arc with them, but I believe there should be a little change in them, whether it's internal, external, but that's always satisfying for the audience. So when it comes to developing your characters, one of the most important things is you need to define their motives and their conflicts. Okay, conflict is hands down the most important thing for driving story forward. You have your protagonist, and then you have your story. Everything that happens in the story should be stopping your protagonist from achieving their end goal. That is essentially how short films and stories are made. If the protagonist gets their end goal straight away, there's no story and it's boring. Conflict is the driving force for the protagonist. Okay, so once you have a decent plan, you should start writing. And remember when I said you should watch loads of short films and you should read loads? Before you start writing, forget all of that, because it's very easy to get caught up thinking, oh, I need to have these certain beats in this film. But it's a short film, so there's no wrong or right way to do it. So don't get caught up thinking, oh, I need a midpoint, I need an inciting incident. Just forget all of that. Just write from the heart, write from your life force, because this is an important story and it needs to be written. If I'm honest, I actually love writing the first draft. This is the first chance where you can put your characters on the page. It's your chance to just write all of that dialogue that you've been dying to get out, or them funny moments, or them serious moments, or them sad moments. I love writing the first draft. If you're stuck writing the first draft, you know, you need to kind of look inwards to yourself. Why can't I write this? Because your story is important. I keep saying your story is important. You should be writing, keep going. And just remember, your first draft is not meant to be perfect. I don't think I have ever made a short film from the first draft. You know, I've worked on feature films for the last 4 years, and even during production, you know, there's so many revisions. So don't worry, just get your first draft done. It's all about mapping your story out. That's what the first draft is about. We can come back and fix things later. If you're halfway through your script and you're stuck on a bit of action or you don't know this dialogue, just write the biggest load of trash. Just write rubbish and just revisit it later, because you just need to get the first one done. So you've written your first draft. You're probably left with 2 feelings. The first is most likely, this is a load of That's okay. That's completely normal. Everyone feels this way. It's a first draft. Like I said, it's not meant to be perfect. If you are feeling this way, it's very important to just let it marinate. Marination time is key here, okay? Leave it a week minimum. Do not look at the script, do not touch the script. You know, you really just need to internalize the story, let the ink dry on the paper, because when you visit a week later, hopefully you would have some clarity on some problems and you'll be able to come back and fix it. The second type of feeling you might feel after writing the first draft, you might be very happy, and that's great. You should hold on to that feeling because you have accomplished something very difficult, and not a lot of people can do it, but you have, so you should be very, very proud. Again, if you're feeling this way, marination time. That's what you need to do. Leave it a week, because you might be overconfident here. And if you leave it a week, then you come back a week later, then you might just realize, oh, there's a hole here in this action, this dialogue doesn't make sense. You're gonna start to see problems. But either way, marination time. So after you've left it a week, I would just go back and fix any problems that you find. And once you fix that, then this is the point where I'd say you can probably send it to some trusted friends or work colleagues. So I always send it to like 5 to 10 people. These are writers, these are directors, these are producers, and then these are also just normal people as well. They tend to be family members. The reason for is the writers can give me constructive criticism on how the story flows, character development, blah, blah, blah. Producers can give me constructive criticism on, you know, if there's too much action, it's going to be too expensive here. The directors, again, just general feedback is amazing. And then what's important as well is I send it to, my friends and family, and they can give me just an overall feeling. So if they liked one part or if they didn't like one part, you know, it's important to kind of hear the feedback from people. If there's a common problem from all these people, then you know that this is something that you need to change. And most importantly, you should give yourself some notes too. I always print out my scripts, and after some marination time, maybe a week to a month, I would just sit down with the script with a pen in hand and just write what I like and what I don't like. There's a lot more what I don't like because I'm very harsh on myself, but that's okay. That's how we get better. But don't let the harsh comments get to you. So always write what's good. Just another bit of advice here is when you send people your script, don't be upset when they don't reply within 24 hours, okay? I've sent scripts to countless people and they've just never got back to me with notes, and that's completely fine. We all live a busy life, so don't wait for notes to come back. I would wait for maybe 1 or 2 to come back, and once you kind of got a general idea of some notes, then I would just go back and rewrite. We rewrite scripts for 2 main reasons. First is just to make it better, and the second is to make it a feasible script to make. So if you've got loads of action sequences, like I said, then you might just need to cut it down to 1. It's a short film, so just remember that. One common theme with short films is the less is better. Okay, if we look at the Oscar winners for the last 2 years, okay, last year, a woman finds out she's a robot. She just stays at work, she questions a lot. It's a very internal conflict, which is what is going on. If we look at the short film last year, then that is about 2 Irish guys who have to spread their mum's ashes, and they've got conflicting ideas on what to do. I've just summarized those stories really badly, so I apologize to the writers and directors of those. But yeah, the point is, simple story, a lot of conflict. So with your rewrites, now is a perfect opportunity to really hone in on your genre. If we look at comedy, for example, this is the point where you can just go crazy with the jokes, make the characters as crazy, as wacky as you want, make the storyline as crazy as wacky, because the first draft is all about getting the beats in. Okay, now let's make it funny. It's the same with horror. So you've got your first draft and you've got all the beats, these things need to happen in order to tell the story, you've got the conflict in there, okay, make it scarier. Add more suspense in the beginning maybe, add a few more jump scares if it's that kind of horror. Now's your time to hone in on your genre. Also, I mentioned it earlier, but rewrites happen all the way up until the end of production. So you could have your finished script, and when you come to film it, there's going to be problems. Maybe the dialogue isn't sitting right with the actors, or the blocking of the scene just doesn't work because of the location. So yeah, there's always rewrites, and that's fine. And because there's always rewrites, you have to know when the short is finished. Once you get to maybe the third or fourth or fifth, even sixth, then you need to just cap it, because you could keep rewriting, and it's art. You know, writing is an art form, and you could always just keep adding more paint, changing that emotion, but it's just important to just call it a day, because if you keep working on something, striving for perfection in this sense, then perfection doesn't exist. You just need to know when to call it quits, or not call it quits, but get ready to actually make the short film now. And if you've written a short film and you think, oh, I don't want it to be made, why not? Why don't you want it to be made? You know, you've spent all this time writing it. It's important to get the story out there. Just reach out to as many producers as you can. They can be the ones to help you find money to get it made. Reach out to a director to just help you take it to that next level. Or even just direct it yourself, you know, why not? You're the one who knows the story best. So there we have it, guys. That is my brief introduction into writing a short film. I hope you found it helpful. Like I said, it's such a huge topic, so it's hard to really just go into details, but I will be doing that in later videos. So let me know if this video was helpful at all. And if you'd like to see more, just drop me a comment. And if you really liked it, if you could give it a like and subscribe, that would be great. Thank you. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.